Meet Magic Eden, the home of Web3. They are getting into the token trading space in addition to NFTs to become a super Dapp where you can do everything cross-chain all in one place. They're solving UX issues by building products across every chain ecosystem, swaps, borrowing and lending, NFT, perps, and more, all seamlessly cross-chain. Instead of hopping between countless sites and handling multiple wallets, just use Magic Eden. Plus, the ME token is coming out this quarter from the ME Foundation. If you've used any of their protocols, you can claim some. So check out Magic Eden today and watch them become a super Dapp in the home of Web3 in real time. Go to realvision.com/magic for more information.
Hi everyone, sorry to interrupt, but this is the cheesy podcast bit that gets on everyone's nerves, but it's really important to me. Please, if you can like the channel and also subscribe, it helps me a lot to get the best guests in the world for you guys. So click like and subscribe. Appreciate it. Thanks. Join me, Raoul, as I go on a journey of discovery through the macro, crypto, and exponential age landscapes. In The Journeyman, I talk to the smartest people in the world so we can all become smarter together.
So the banana went from the table to your sweater. You predicted the banana zone, which is crypto prices going bananas. It's been 5 months now.
Still nothing.
Still nothing. Is the banana zone still in the room with us?
I guess we'll find out today.
Raoul is back with his crypto thesis in the Banana Zone playbook.
Raoul is on a mission to help as many people achieve financial freedom faster in this ever-evolving crypto market.
Are you still confident about the great soul trade for this cycle?
The question is whether the next chosen one outperforms it so significantly that you're forced to take that trade. Generally, it should just continue higher. I don't want to give price targets because if it doesn't happen, that's my fault. But you could probably say that Bitcoin memes are just for the fun of it. It's all about trading attention, stupidity, and it's also about FOMO. The question is this cycle going to be the cycle of meme coins? Yes.
Why do you go out there and take the risk of being publicly wrong on something like the banana zone that is everybody's dreams and hope?
Look, it's fucking terrifying. Things are so fucked for so many people. People can't afford a house. They're not having kids who are not living in their own place, i.e. they have to share a place. All of that stuff, showing how stressed people are. Asking them to save and make 10% returns on the S&P 500 for the next 20 years just ain't going to cut it. And so I want to make sure that if I make money out of this, nobody turns around to me and says, well, why didn't we?
Raoul, do you subscribe to the meme coin super cycle thesis?
Smoking chicken fish in the church. We don't refer to billions, we refer to bouillon. Even he's laughing.
He's been laughing for 10 minutes.
It's just brilliant.
So 3 hours and a half podcast this morning. Still fresh. You look fresh
with jet
and
lag.
tanned.
Yeah, and tired. But I'm good.
You arrived here Monday or Sunday?
Yeah,
so
Monday.
Still jet lagged?
Yeah, Monday. Woke up in the middle of the night, paced around my hotel room, fell asleep for an hour, and then immediately had to go to go and do a 3.5 hour podcast. And then you brought the time forward, so I was going to have a siesta, and you ruined that as well. So it's your fault.
I brought some wine here to
what have we got
get
today?
Some apologies. So we have an old vine Rioja that our partner Divine Labs selected specifically for you, to 2014.
Good, because I'm on their board, so I should get nice wine from them.
Absolutely. So it's not only a partner of When Shift Happens, but you're on their board. Why?
It's delicious, by the way. Not only do I love wine, and also love Dave and Jana, who co-founded it, but I can see Web3 for me has a lot of advantage in loyalty. Wine has this weird world where you'll sell a wine as a producer and then it kind of disappears into the ether for 10 years and then somebody drinks it, of which you have no idea who they are. And Web3, by, tokenizing the label or the tokenized cork essentially, allows you to then know where the wine goes, who owns it, and when it gets drunk, which gives the grower a lot of information. But us as consumers, tokenization can create behavioral incentives. So it's not incentivizing you, well, it is incentivizing you to drink, but also to record the fact that you've opened it, because then the wine grower knows that you like Rioja and you buy this kind of price range and drink it this kind of age. They now know that you're their customer and they can get rid of all the middlemen and incentivize you directly by giving you offers or special promotions, stuff like that. That's point number one. So I think that is interesting. I've been exploring loyalty and that kind of Web3 world of consumer incentives. Also, the fact that wine is a logistical business and, wine spoils over time. You need to know where it's been for provenance and price when you're dealing with fine wines. You want to know how it's stored, who stored it. I mean, I buy tons of wine in the Cayman Islands and you might spend $200-300 a bottle and it's ruined. Because yes, the grower might be amazing, but you have no idea who's had it since. This way we can start proving things out on chain. Also, it allows people to maybe manage inventory better, where you can tokenize the inventory. So there's a bunch of different things that I think are really interesting for all industries that Deven is doing that I want to see succeed.
Meet Magic Eden, the home of Web3. They are getting into the token trading space in addition to NFTs to become a super dApp where you can do everything cross-chain all in one place. They're solving UX issues by building products across every chain ecosystem, swaps, borrowing and lending, NFT, perps, and more, all seamlessly cross-chain. Instead of hopping between countless sites and handling multiple wallets, just use Magic Eden. Plus, the ME token is coming out this quarter from the ME Foundation. If you've used any of their protocols, you can claim some. So check out Magic Eden today and watch them become a super dApp in the home of Web3 in real time. Go to realvision.com/magic for more information.
You mentioned the different people involved in the kind of like wine supply chain. Obviously, we're the kind of end consumer. And you said we're incentivized to drink, so some sort. So there's actually a NFC there. Do you have your phone?
I do. I have my Deven app as well.
So there's an NFC there, and you can basically claim your tokens for drinking this wine. I opened the bottle before through my app, and you should be able to just tap the NFC and then claim your...
My app. But yes, I just tap it and then it claims it.
Yeah, I think you can also just tap the phone and then you can have...
Let's see. Yeah, there we go. Straight into my app. We haven't got very good internet. But yes, it'll load up. It then knows that we've opened this. And then there's information that's stored on chain. Now, it doesn't only apply to wine. If this technology works, it applies to so many things where you can break the barrier between producer and consumer. So everything can come direct, which means it's cheaper. You can be rewarded for loyalty directly what you do. Could be clothing, could be all sorts of things. But, wine is a very good start.
How are you doing?
Apart from being tired, great.
So you were on Diary of a CEO this morning.
Yeah.
With Stephen Bartlett. How was that for an experience?
Bizarre. It wasn't wildly different, excuse me, to our conversation. It was different in terms of what we talked about, but a similar kind of style. So it was a free-ranging, long and very open discussion. So, I don't mind being kind of brutally honest. So it was good. It was just a nice conversation. And before I knew it, 3.5 hours had gone.
I actually spent 1 or 2 weeks 3 years ago with Stephen
in Bali.
In Bali, exactly.
Yeah. He remembered you. I mentioned you. He goes, oh yeah, in Bali.
And actually he was starting to become, not big yet, but he was very focused on the UK market.
Yeah.
And he was doing a bunch of football players. And I was actually kind of looking at, okay, interesting. Like you're doing there was Joe Rogan, right? And there was Lex Fridman, but 2021, not big yet, Lex Fridman. And I was like, okay, I'm going to watch kind of closely what he's doing because he seems to be onto something. And in the next year, he kind of blew up. And then I realized, oh man, people don't really understand podcasting. If you do it the right way, it's a massive opportunity. And it's something that then I was thinking, obviously he's huge, right? And doing health and business and everything. I was thinking, if I do something similar, I have kind of two models, what he's doing, but also Lex Fridman, like very deep conversations. And if I apply this into crypto, it could be something really interesting because of the leverage of crypto, right? And so a year and a half later, I just thought at bottom of the bear market, after FTX crash, I was thinking that that's the moment to start to do something similar. So there is definitely a big influence from Steven and from Lex, as you could see.
I was invited for the Lex Fridman podcast over the pandemic, and I couldn't leave the Cayman Islands. And that's before Lex really blew up, but he was starting to get big. And he's like, well, I only do it in person. I'm like, well, I can't get to Austin. He's like, well, can't do it then. And then I wrote to him recently. He said, look, I'm happy to come now. Never heard back.
I mean, if you grow it's all a social proof game, right?
Yeah.
If you grow the socials, which are starting to do really well, especially on the YouTube side, right? I mean, Twitter is huge already, but on the YouTube side, then you might get back on his radar, especially if you go on Steven and then they start to see.
Yeah, because Steven obviously is a Real Vision fan, but he'd also seen me on Tom Bilyeu.
Absolutely.
And,
that's what I was thinking.
It's all one step
absolutely.
from another.
Yeah.
And I did Tim Ferriss a long time ago as well.
You'll get there.
I'll get there.
Lex and Joe next. So at the end of our conversation, so today we're going to do something very different. Last time was more kind of like macro and everything. Today is going to be much more crypto focused because it's kind of like the logical way to follow up on the last conversation we had. Which at the end of our last conversation, I asked you what your biggest prediction for the next 12 months was, and you picked up one of the bananas that we had on the table.
This is a Real Vision merch. Go to the Real Vision merch store. This is a Banana Zone embroidered top.
So the banana went from the table to your sweater. And basically it meant that you predicted the Banana Zone, which is crypto prices going bananas. It's been 5 months now.
Still nothing.
Still nothing. The price of Bitcoin hasn't moved much.
No.
Is the Banana Zone still in the room with us?
Look, I think it is.
I mean, it is. Definitely it's
definitely in the room. It's whether it's a stale dead banana or not. Look, I don't think anything's changed. I produced a huge piece of research in Global Macro Investor this month, my research service, and everything points to the same thing. Liquidity is coming. Now, you can see it in the stock market. The Nasdaq's going up, but crypto's been heavy, and I don't know for what particular reason it's been heavy. I mean, are we going to have to wait until the election? Maybe it's something to do with that. I don't know. For some reason, it's heavier than other assets. But nothing in my work suggests otherwise. On the asset management side, on Exponential Age Asset Management, XPAM, we hear the same thing, and I hear it from everybody I speak to, is people are waiting for price to go up before they come back in. So in this weird world where price is flat, that doesn't bring anybody in. So something has to change. Stock market's going up. Tech stocks are going up. Liquidity's going up. China's starting to print money. The US are cutting rate. I mean, what more do you need? So it's a matter probably of just patience.
Feels like 2020. 2020, there was all this conversation about COVID crash. Bitcoin should be like gold, but it got wrecked. Then it took a couple of months, right? And it always takes a bit longer until almost everybody abandons. And then boom, it goes up so quickly that people who were not in kind of miss the boat. Feels like it's kind of similar this time around again.
The market likes to exhibit pain. And it's when people get bored or people lose focus or people think, I'm going to go and find something else, is when it all goes off. It always happens this way. And 2020 was like that. Last year was like that. People forget last year was almost identical. In fact, when you overlay the charts of Ethereum now versus Ethereum then, Bitcoin now versus Bitcoin then, last year, it was identical. So it should just continue higher. Now, it's correcting today, but this is short-term noise, but generally it should keep going up. And everything in macro says it should keep going up. So let's see.
Hi, Raoul here. Listen, I think we've got until 2030 before the economic singularity arrives. Now, it might not be the exact date, but it's around then. So we have about 6 years to figure out how to unfuck our future. I've put together a report to help you called Prepare for 2030. It's going to help you take the first steps in that journey to make sure you're secure past 2030. So just click on the link below and start your journey now.
I had a conversation with Kiao Wang from Alliance DAO a couple of weeks ago in New York. And he said that the so-called alt season, banana zone is kind of the same, right? Can happen only if two conditions are met. The first one is there is a limited amount of tokens, which we don't have anymore because there is 10,000 new tokens created every day on pump.fun. So that's kind of like, this first condition is kind of like over forever. There is a lot of tokens. And then the second condition is more liquidity, which when I recorded with him in August, there was not. And now it started already, right? Do you think is enough?
I think his first point is wrong. The scarcity is not the tokens. The scarcity is the attention. There's only a limited amount of attention. There's 500 million active crypto wallets of how many active people in crypto, how many active people in meme coins. So right now, let's say there is 1 million active people in meme coins. 1 million people have to put their attention, and what they tend to do is focus attention with other people's attention. So Murad tweeted about a bunch of tokens, they all go up because everyone's desperate for the banana zone and they want, so attention moves around. So even though there's 10,000, none of those get attention. The real game is capturing the attention. So then if you capture the attention and then the liquidity continues to kick in, I think China's got another press conference coming out shortly, tomorrow or something else, to talk about yet more measures. And we've got everybody else to start cutting rates and injecting liquidity. Well, then the attention focuses, tokens start going up, other people come in, they start chasing meme coins, then people go out the risk curve. Well, if that dog token's going up, then I'm going to buy this dog token. That starts pushing up, and then the game is played. It always plays out the same way. So you're kind of, attention is still a bit split, but you're kind of seeing who the winners are going to be in the meme coin cycle. Obviously, there'll be new ones. So the attention is focusing, and now you need just the other catalyst to just push it, and then everything blows.
Yeah, absolutely. So if you pay enough attention, even in these very boring phases, you can see as quickly as there is some kind of hope, even if it's just hope, what's going up first. Yeah. And what's being bought when there is a crash. And it's probably a good indicator on what's going to outperform in a bull run and in a banana zone when it's coming, even if it's in another couple of months or... That's
right. Yeah, you're kind of getting a sign of what's truly strong, what's actually captured attention.
You said, the US cut rates, right? Where do you see the rates going before the inevitable inflation catches up again and we re-enter in a liquidity tightening phase again?
Look, it's a very tough call. My view has always been that rates are probably coming down to 2% because that's the everything code. That's the trend rate of GDP growth. And you need to kind of bring it down to that. So my view is they'll try and get rates down as much as possible, but the economy is really quite strong. So will they be able to bring it down enough? Well, it doesn't matter. So 2016 rates, the Fed raised rates once in 16 and then just went on hold. They didn't add liquidity. The Chinese added tons, as did, I think, England after Brexit. That was enough to cause the 16-17 mega cycle. So it doesn't require the US and it doesn't require rates because rates aren't liquidity. Liquidity is a separate thing.
It doesn't matter. I have that in a few of the different parts because it's one of your favorite sentences, right?
Yeah. Just try and get rid of the noise. So many people mid-curve everything. Over-argue everything.
You think crypto goes to 10 to 15 trillion this cycle?
Yeah, I think that's reasonable. And I get that really simply, again, in an idiot's way. I just take the market cap of crypto, put it in a log regression channel, and it gets you there. You do the same with Bitcoin, back it out as maybe a Bitcoin dominance of 50%, 40%. You kind of get there. It's like, you look at the wallet growth, you kind of get to those numbers. So it's like, yeah, that makes about sense.
So we are today at 2.2 trillion. which means 5 to 7x in growth.
Yeah.
If that really happens, what does it mean for BTC, ETH, and Sol?
Generally speaking, in a normal market, you would see Sol outperform ETH, outperform Bitcoin. That's usually what happens. And so I don't know, because I don't want to give price targets, because you get in that stupid game of people then believe the price targets and then it doesn't happen, and then their vision of their future selves, that Porsche they were going to buy is now ruined and it's my fault because it didn't get to the price. It's all nonsense. But you could probably say that Bitcoin triples, quadruples from here. Something like that. And Solana probably 8x's plus, that kind of range, and ETH somewhere in the middle.
You have a banana on your sweater. And it's even written the banana zone, right?
It is. It's even written the banana zone. Just in case you didn't.
In case we didn't get the memo.
Yeah.
When you have a tattoo?
Never.
Never. Learn.
That's the lunar
Learn from your
game.
friend's mistake.
Yeah, never.
Why do you go out there and take the risk of being publicly wrong on something like the banana zone that is everybody's dreams and hope?
Look, it's fucking terrifying. It's really uncomfortable for me to do it. I don't need to do it. Yes, of course, it helps promote a business and blah, blah, blah. But I don't need to take those risks. Most people don't. And I do it because I've been in this space for a long time. I've got more macro experience than pretty much anybody else. And things are so fucked for so many people that we talked about last time, that people can't afford a house. The average millennial is 35 years old. They can't afford a house. They're not having kids. I mean, the rate of having kids is plummeting. The number of people who are not living in their own place, i.e. they have to share a place. All of that stuff is just showing how stressed people are. And asking them to save and make 10% returns on the S&P 500 for the next 20 years just ain't going to cut it. And so I can see how stressed people are. People are getting polarized. And I want to make sure that if I make money out of this, nobody turns around to me and says, well, why didn't we? Oh, it's the insiders. It's that. I did that before, with the crash in 2008, 2012. We all made money and people are like, what the fuck? A, why didn't we know about it? And then it was like, well, why didn't we make money out of it? And I'm like, I'm not going to do that. So I have to publicly take a lot of risks by trying to explain to people the opportunity, how to navigate it, whilst also making sure they understand there are no certainties and that I am taking a risk by doing this, and my own money's on the line. In fact, 100% of my liquid net worth and all of the businesses that I've built. It doesn't matter if we get the banana zone to me or not, as long as the adoption of the technology continues, because the value will go up. But the banana zone is that point that it becomes emotional, because you really can make a difference to your financial situation just by doing nothing. It's one of those rare moments. I was speaking to Stephen Bartlett about this. I'm like, some people, if they get this right, they start with enough capital. There's no point even starting a business when you're investing in crypto. You can literally not do any of the shit that you and I do. You could just buy some tokens and go traveling for 5-10 years and come back rich, right? And we just spend so much time around this space. You don't need to do any of it. So yeah, I want to help people. I want them to get to the other side. I want to be able to change people's lives and get out of the trap that everybody's in. Now, I'm not doing that trying to be hubristic or think that I'm some great hero figure. I just don't want somebody to come to me and say, well, why didn't we know?
How could you be wrong on your banana zone thesis?
Look, markets are funny things. They don't always do what you want. And maybe the Harris administration gets in and they crack even further down on crypto, and that slows progress further. And then something else happens negative and it just slows it down. Maybe liquidity doesn't come in, and for some reason we manage to finance the debts because GDP growth is high enough. And so suddenly we get less liquidity than we expected. Doesn't seem to be the case because of China. It's so big and it has such a problem. And Europe is slowing down very fast. So I don't see it, but there's always a probability. So you just have to assess it as you go, because certainly within all of the predictions that I have, many of them don't come to pass. The idea is that overall it comes to pass. So do we get a banana zone now, later? I mean, we talked about this last time. I said, I don't know, but it will come at some point. If it doesn't come, is the space going to collapse? No, you need liquidity to tighten for that to happen. So in which case, it's a holding pattern or a slower grind higher. Okay, I can live with that. A collapse of the market based around liquidity suddenly going up, okay, that's a whole different risk, because then you're wrong in terms of timing. So we'll wait and see.
So hopefully the banana zone is coming. And if we think it's coming, people naturally want to understand how to play it. And you've been very open about your positions. You wrote my core crypto bets, main game Sol, outperformer gaining adoption Sui, memes.
Smoking chicken fish, the church of...
Smoking chicken fish and Doge, long-term investments, culture, NFTs, still building portfolio, but a mix of Xcopy, Beeple, Punks, Apes, ACK, and many more. I won't have the best bets and not the worst, but I think risk-adjusted is decent. Memes make change in time. Then we had Michael Saylor answering, Bitcoin misses you, Raoul. Let's dive into each of your position and understand your thought process. So obviously it's not price targets and this is the best part.
Yeah.
But it's really for people who are, maybe they watched the first episode, or maybe they watched Stephen Bartlett this morning and they're like, okay, now I understand the key concept. I want to take some positions. Why do you think, obviously you choose some bets. What's your kind of framework, right?
Okay. So we start with the don't fuck this up thesis that I talk a lot about, which is the majority of your capital should be in the top 3 to 5 tokens. So what I do personally is I then look at all of the price action between the top 3, Solana, ETH, Bitcoin, look at the cross rates and choose the strongest one. It has been Solana. And I've had that bet for a while and it's been the strongest trend. So that is why I have Solana. Solana has a good community, great UX, good tech, it's fast, it's cheap, and it has had some breakthroughs in chain usage, meme coins being one of them. The ecosystem is deepening and broadening, much like ETH was doing this time last cycle. So, okay, that's a great place to park a larger amount of capital because it's relatively safe.
So, and you worked out really well until now.
Yeah.
Are you still confident about the great Sol trade for this cycle?
Yes, I am. I'm sure it'll do absolutely fine. I mean, I see nothing but success going on that chain and positive vibes. The question is whether the next chosen one outperforms it so significantly that you're forced to take that trade, which is much riskier. So it's not the bet that I would ask people to do full size. And for me, it's Sui. And it's not because I'm on the foundation, but it's because I could have been talking about this forever because I was on the foundation, but I didn't. I waited till I saw the confirmation price action, which was this general outperformance, started versus Solana, ETH, Bitcoin, and then every single token started breaking out. And at that point, I felt comfortable saying, listen, I think this may be the chosen one. Sure, there'll be other stuff that outperforms it.
So the fact that you are on the Sui Foundation board is not linked to the fact that you think it's going to be one of the outperformer. It's kind of luck.
Yeah, it is. I'm a mercenary when it comes to capital. And because I've got so many followers, I cannot shill something because I happen to be on the board and I want the number to go up. I can't do that. So I was very careful about it until the price was proving itself. And then I could say, listen, the proof is here. It's outperforming everything. And I think this is going to get adoption because of the reasons. And you had Adani on, who's fantastic.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And you can see the technology and how they're breaking the internet down to its component parts and rebuilding the stack from scratch. Now, clever tech doesn't win. Adoption wins.
Absolutely.
So we're seeing the active wallets going up. We've seen stuff. It's early. We haven't got a big breakthrough use case yet.
Yeah, actually flew to San Francisco, did a podcast with a bunch of people there, and Adeni was one of them. And I fell there. And kind of around that same time, you started to be more vocal, and I was like, fuck. I don't have more cash. What do I do? Then I said, hey guys, we should do a partnership with the podcast. It's about to happen. So I was like, So I was like, I need to do something about that because otherwise I don't have in my portfolio, the outperformer gaining adoption. Right. So, but yeah, absolutely. I felt there's something when you have these people in front of you that just completely opens your mind and your eyes. Right. And you're like, oh man, like.
And look, Sui is hard to understand at first. When I started, I'm like, look, we know they're all smart people, but they're just technical. And at the time, they hadn't developed the character of like these 5 superheroes because each of the 5 founders is very different. And what we're finding is different people are different communicators to different markets. And Adani is more crypto native, a bit more degen, a bit more understanding. I think Sam is like the young surfer dude, the CTO. And so he plays well. Evan is like the older wizard that nobody quite understands what he's talking about. Everyone plays a different role within it. So it takes a while for people to grasp what's going on. But I got it. As you know, I like to extrapolate everything down to its lowest common denominator, a meme, the left curve, right curve. And basically, it was built for 3.5 billion people in Facebook.
That's what I thought. When I was in front, I was just,
It's as simple as that. Yeah. And what they're doing is breaking apart all the component parts of the web, storage, everything else, and rebuilding it for Web3. Yeah. I'm sure some of those things won't get traction and some will get tremendous traction, but built for 3.5 billion people. That's all we need to know because the rest of the tech is struggling with scale and this doesn't. Okay.
I was thinking the same. I was like, I'm literally in front of one of the guys who was building Libra. I asked him, why do you think Libra failed? He answers, now he's in crypto. They were in Facebook. They understand Web 2. They're now in Web 3. Like there is all the components there. I mean, at least many components there that make sense if you dumb down everything on who could.
Don't forget, what they built was so powerful that they got shut down by the World Bank, the Fed, the ECB. I mean, they got shut down by everybody.
And Ivan, right? Adeni was like, he has a massive chip on the shoulder because it didn't work out, right? And so now he wants to prove that they're able with Sui to make something that really works, which is very bullish, obviously. You joined the board of the Sui Foundation when you probably get thousands of advisory requests per year. What's so special about the Sui network before prices went up, right? Or was starting to go up that made you want to join the Sui rocket ship?
So I was asked to by somebody I really, really respect in the space and I understood why, because I'm in the Cayman Islands. And it's Cayman Islands Foundation. You want physical presence and I'm crypto native. So it's like, okay, this makes sense. Because a lot of people have kind of bullshit Cayman directors. But I'd followed the Libra story. I'd written about it. I'd done podcasts on it. I thought it was incredible. And I was not going to join any token because I knew that I have an outsized impact because of my follower base and stuff like that. And so I had to be very careful and reputationally very careful. I didn't want something that was going to be crappy, implode, or anything else. It had to be a really big project that had a high probability of doing well, or at least being in with a chance. The downside of obviously is it's a low float because there was a lot of investor interest in early days. So I knew there was going to be a bit of that. And I knew that the team didn't yet understand community and Web3. And there was learnings, but I just thought that if anything was going to have a chance of succeeding, it was going to be this. Now, could it have been another token? Maybe, but this one was so obvious because the team and the story that I thought I could risk myself going on the board. And so it wasn't really necessarily the journey of being given tokens to be on a board. It was actually just see how it works. What's it like to launch a big layer one and build an ecosystem? Because the understanding for me will give me a lot of other understandings about investing and other stuff and how this space works. So really it was the journey I wanted to go on.
And even on the podcast, Adeni actually says that. He says, yeah, Raoul spent a lot of time and didn't really understand directly, but understood more and more with time what we're trying to build, why we're such a good tech, and so on and so forth. So definitely what he says completely confirms what you're saying. Is Sui the next Sol?
You know, the comparisons from a price perspective, probably. It's actually mirroring Sol from the last cycle. I mean, we do, myself and Julian Bittel do this chart, and it's kind of exactly mirroring Sol the last cycle. So it's the same kind of adoption curve going on. Is it the next Sol? I think it's different. It's just a different beast. And that's good, because we're not just a lookalike, you know, cheaper, faster. Sui is just a whole different foundational infrastructure for the internet. And Solana is this kind of more closed, perfect machine. And they're just different beasts, I think. And we'll see over time. So I just think basically, forget is one flipping the other or anything else. I just think Sui ends up in the top 10 and Solana ends up in the top 3. It's just simple as that.
How could you be wrong on your Sui thesis?
Adoption. And we probably won't even know, because people will just, if we start going into the banana zone part of the cycle, people just buy any old shit. And then it will move anyway if it's one of the chosen ones. Adoption will be doing this and price will be doing this. Right? And that's why you get the correction of the down 90% in the next cycle, because then price has to come back down to below adoption. And it's at this point you then prove, has this really got adoption or is this bullshit? And so we can't tell. Now, you know, even at the foundation level, without saying anything on the foundation, sure, you allocate capital to people building in the ecosystem. Are they going to succeed? Who the hell knows? So it has to be the proof in the pudding. And if we don't manage it, then we are to blame. We've got the tech. We have the people. And so if we don't allocate capital correctly or we don't communicate message correctly, then it's our fault.
Yeah, something for people to kind of keep in mind is extremely risky play, probably going to go up a lot, outperform Sol if markets go up like crazy. But what happened to Sol last cycle? What happened to ETH previous cycle? Down 97% and still survived. But that's when you get
the signal
to test, right?
That's the signal that's been de-risked. Yeah. And that's why Sol suddenly became a de-risked asset, because it got down to $8. Everyone was, it's terrible. Activity was still high. They started launching Bonk and other stuff. And before you know it, it's going up and outperforming. And that's like, okay, Lindy effect. This is proven not to die.
Absolutely. So something that people who are a bit maybe risk averse could do is watch this cycle, watch Sui, try to not FOMO in, see what happens in the next crash, and then see if it's kind of staying alive.
Do what I did last cycle with Solana. I owned a bit, just a small amount. I bought it too late. I bought it like 180, it went up to whatever, 280, then came all the way down to 8, you know, and I kept it. I didn't sell it, but because it was on my radar screen, because I knew it was interesting. And then because I cared, I was looking at the charts at the bottom and I can see it was bottoming, and I managed to get back in much earlier than anybody else, apart from a few people, Chris Boniski and a few others, because of that. So don't put yourself off from owning SUI if you're more risk averse, but own a bit, enough that it stays on your radar screen and enough that you can wear the down 97, and you'll take that as interesting information of which to make a more informed, bigger bet if it survives and does well.
So last time on this podcast, you said asked you about meme coins, right? And you said, I'm a bit less interested in meme coin than previously because I'm more interested in NFTs.
Yep.
Meanwhile, in the last few months, meme coins have captured the meat of the mindshare, and it seems that now people are realizing that meme coins will be the main play of this cycle, like NFTs were last cycle. Knowing this, I mean, obviously we're going to talk about your 2 meme coin positions. But knowing this, have you reviewed your stance on an interest on meme coin versus NFTs?
The 2 different things. One is a trading thing, and the other one is long-term wealth accumulation. So with NFTs, I'm buying high-end art that got discounted, but the most culturally relevant artists in all of digital art, Xcopy, Beeple, and there's a bunch of others to go with that. But those 2 are the OGs of the OG space. Prices have come down, ETH price have come down. So you're getting the same effect, the Lindy effect of the market testing, is Xcopy valuable or is it bullshit? Well, fuck me, there's a lot of this stuff trading at high prices right now. And it's like, okay, there you go. There's virtually no Beeples for sale. Virtually nothing. There's like 5 things under the price of 20 ETH or 30 ETH now. So you're like, interesting. You can see what's happening. Suppliers all being taken out and prices starting to rise. But that bet is really a 10-year plus bet, like you would do with art. Memes are just for the fun of it. It's all about trading attention that we talked about before. It's about speculative frenzy. It's about fun. It's about stupidity. It's about being left curve. And it's also about FOMO.
Absolutely.
Because it's horrific that everybody online, and this is everyone online posts I've made 100x. Oh, suddenly I'm worth 20 million and I did it from a $10 bet. You're like, why is it not me, right? The stupidity. Now, it doesn't say, and here's the 99 people out of 100 who all lost their asses. Doesn't do any of that, but it happens to all of us. So the way of averting this is the whole don't fuck this up thesis, is put 10% so you can be that person, that side of your personality, and not screw it up. We talked about, how you got it wrong before by getting that part of your personality to become your whole portfolio, and before you know it, you fuck up. But this way...
Do you subscribe to the meme coin super cycle thesis?
Yeah.
Why? I mean, I know you wrote a tweet thread 3 or 4 years ago about exponential age, and this is basically like one of the best kind of embodiment of the exponential age and kind of like the stupidity and all that stuff, right? So
yeah, and my whole pinned tweet thread is about...
Yeah, exactly, this one.
And it's about culture. It's about, I think Murad was dead right, the belonging online, wanting to be part of something, that hopes and dreams of making money. All of that is in this space. It's wildly speculative, as NFTs were. It's all the same thing. It's the same psychology. It's the same early staging, testing of tech that will be used for different things. And so this is the early stage speculators have tested DeFi. They've tested NFTs. They've tested tokens themselves. They've tested ICOs. They've tested fungible tokens, based on around more ethereal things like attention. Retail have speculated and tested things, and stuff that hasn't worked, like Terra with the stablecoin, algorithmic stablecoin, didn't work. Okay, so these retail investors are doing all the testing, and these things will morph every cycle into different things. So is this cycle going to be the cycle of meme coins? Yes.
Yeah.
Why? Because it's going to bring in every 23-year-old, 22-year-old, and they're going to have fun doing it because they understand memes, And some will get really rich, stupid rich, and others will completely lose their asses. And they'll go and go, what did I do wrong? This is the Kevin of the previous cycle and many others. And they'll go, you know what? I want to learn about this.
Hopefully.
And then you go through, hopefully you learn something.
You were vocal about WIF last time, but your main Dogecoin now, for now and subject to change, let's say that out loud, is Dogecoin.
Yeah.
Why?
The chart is so fucking good. It just every 4 years at the banana zone period, it does this huge wedge, does nothing, and then explodes. Okay, so most people in the meme space will go, yeah, but other things will explode more. Fine. I don't have time to go through every single community, figure out what's getting traction, what the number of holders are, how many diamond hands are. Doge is an internationally recognizable brand. There is a chance, a reasonable chance, that Elon Musk builds a stupid department in the US government, which is the Department of Government Efficiency, which he calls Doge. I mean, he puts the meme with the fucking dog. And obviously, he's building a payments platform. He's getting the money transmitter licenses. What's standing in his way of using Doge as an international payments, which would be very useful because then I can sell something to somebody in Nigeria and we don't need dollars or anything else? Doge. Change of government? You know, I wouldn't be surprised if Doge does not explode. So it's a lower risk way of playing the meme coin cycle. So, I've got a balanced portfolio of one risky one and one less risky one.
Doge is your soul of meme coins.
Yes,
and
correct.
then you say, but like most people in the space will say, yeah, but why are you going for Doge when you can buy WIF or PopCat or anything that's going to outperform? You have one of them, right?
Yeah.
That is called smoked chicken fish, aka SCF. And I mean, before when I was mentioning meme coin, I was laughing because I was just imagining the face of this smoking chicken fish, right? And
it's absurd.
It's absurd, but one of the ultimate alpha meme coin, they say, is what's your reaction when you see the meme, right?
Every single person laughs.
Absolutely. You see this thing, you're like, what the fuck is that? And then...
And it has folklore because it was actually a Reddit meme from 2011.
I didn't know that.
And like there was, I can't remember which actress, some actress was accused of looking like the smoking chicken fish. And she put a video on TikTok or Instagram like 5 years ago of like, I can't believe I've been accused of looking like a smoking chicken fish. So there's this folklore that comes onto this moment. Then the folklore gets added from the ridiculous image that makes everybody laugh. It's like so stupid, so absurd. What's more absurd is they registered as a church in Texas. So it's the church of the smoking chicken fish. And then what you see is the cult-like behavior. Because it's funny, the memes get funnier. So they rename this thing, as opposed to being one specific religion that is used in any religious stuff. So as opposed to be Lord Vishnu, which is the Hindu god, it becomes Lord Fishnu. And as opposed to praise be to God, it becomes praise be to Cod. And so it goes on. And it's just funny. It's like Monty Python of memes, and it's religion. So actually there's a bit of a left curve, right curve part. What they're trying to do is become the largest registered church in the United States by number of attendees and also by money.
For all of these weird things, right? NFT was kind of weird in the beginning. There's a learning curve, and then you need to understand. And at some point you have the aha moment. You say, this makes sense. Then meme coins, same. But then within meme coins, same, right? You might just see some things, I don't really understand it. And then, for example, for this one, you had your sort of aha moment where you said, actually, I want to allocate some money. What was that? And again, it's not for that specific product. It's more for people to understand
It was
the evolution of the
There's
process.
lots of memes and everyone's trying to vie for your attention. I get spammed all the time with memes. I ignore all of them. Smoking chicken fish, I can't remember who mentioned it. Ansem or somebody mentioned it. And I saw the image and I laughed. And most of these I don't laugh because they're trying hard. This is absurd. And then I kind of clicked on it just to read what it was. And then I saw they were a registered church and they were having sermons every evening. And, several hundred people were turning up to the sermons, and they were kind of life lessons, but they're also humorous. And it starts off with this really out of tune, I think it's a flute version of Titanic. And so it's funny. It's like out of tune, a flute version of Titanic, then this sermon, then it's a church. And I look at the price chart and it kind of had been falling. And I'm like, this looks interesting. So I bought a bit and I kind of publicly joked about it because the joking of, joining a church and the religious stuff, blah, blah, blah. And I got to meet all of the people involved and realize there was no pre-sale, there's no VC, there's no original big holders, none of it. And these guys are just all around the world having hilarious time playing with one of the best memes I've ever seen. And so once the price started confirming it, I just bought more.
You say absurd, right? Arthur has tweeted, I'm so bulled up on SCF because it's so absurd and left curve. Only brainlets can YOLO into this. I can't wait for some Muppet on TV to toot crypto because SCF is higher than 1 billion market cap. How do you explain today why?
Sorry, in smoking chicken fish in the church, we don't refer to billions, we refer to bouillon. Because there is a holy broth and you become a brother and not a brother. So it's never billions, no Billy, it's bouillons. Look, even he's laughing.
He's been laughing for 10 minutes.
It's just brilliant.
It's actually
so they keep saying it's going to bouillons and bouillons. Funny. So stupid, it's funny.
But this is very crypto, right? Crypto native or...
No, it's internet native. It's internet native. The meme existed before. It was the kind of meme that used to get sent around. But now you can attach value to a meme. What we're doing is figuring out what this meme is worth in folklore.
So imagine you have someone who is watching the TV and who is watching Arthur A's so-called Muppet on TV, angry about a picture of a smoking chicken fish going to a $1 billion. How do you explain today to that person that's going to be angry in the future how that is even possible? And how this makes sense that you, Raoul Pal, would allocate a small percentage of your portfolio into that?
Because they've got to understand that a lot of what we all do on the internet is find a commonality of interest. So if you have a group of mates in physical life, you'll have inside jokes. Things that have happened that you joke about or that somebody did, and they get embellished. They get made more ridiculous, and it becomes an inside joke. Nobody else understands that. But to you guys, it's valuable because it's a part of your friendship. It's a folklore. It's a meme of your friendship. This is the same. It's just millions of people online form friendships and bonding over humor or over a commonality of purpose. Now, that commonality of purpose here happens to be a church, but it's also about making money. And there's the chicken commandments as well, which is the commandments, the chicken commandments. But they're kind of half serious as well.
I mean, it shows at least that how good of a meme this is, right? Because we're just laughing for like 10 minutes. And
yeah, and I've been in this world for a while and it still makes me laugh. But, dog with hat, does it make you laugh? No.
It's cute, but no, it doesn't. No.
It's cute. And the reason you like it is because everybody likes it and you might make money.
Yeah, that's true.
Smoking chicken fish, even if it makes no money, it's just fucking funny.
It's true. I read a reaction from a man on Twitter who makes fun of Real Vision subscribers when you mentioned SCF. He said something like, I don't remember the exact tweet. I tried to look for it for like 30 minutes, but I didn't find it. He said something like, hey, Real Vision subscribers, this is the type of information that you pay $3,000 per year for. What does this gentleman fail to grasp or understand?
They fail to understand people's motivation. Nobody has a right to tell people what to do or how to manage their money. They can advise them on how to manage risk, but you can't say that thing good, that thing bad. It's how you manage that risk. And who's to say that what is happening in meme coins is not the start of something much bigger, which is the tokenization of culture and communities? It is. So people who go through this journey now will be ready for the bigger journey when it comes. And my job, and the $3,000 he's probably referring to Real Vision Pro Macro, which I write for, our job is to make people money. Because that is, you're paying for my view and another person's view. In Real Vision itself, we have all the views. But in Pro Macro, you're paying for specific views, and you're paying for us to help you find good choices in ways of allocating your capital. It's never been a trade recommendation in there because I don't like that. Doge is, because it's more de-risked. So I take it seriously what I tell people and how I tell them. If it's going to be recorded, my entire track record since 2005 is fully recorded. So all these bullshit people say, oh, Raoul Pal, he does this and does that. No, it's all recorded. So I'm very careful in what I do.
And you're also paid to be open-minded, even if people don't like it. And actually, if you think about it, it's probably even better that you come up with some things that some people don't like, or maybe most people don't like in the beginning, because it means that you're always out there trying to understand what the fuck is the next thing, right? And kind of hurting your brain on what is this new thing that doesn't make sense.
I would have never found Bitcoin. I've never found Ethereum. I would have never found... I mean, all of this is keeping an open mind and absorbing information without judging it. Right? The judgment is, these stupid kids, they're gambling. Can't you see this is stupid? My pin tweet is this. They are not stupid. They are figuring out how to make money in a different world than somebody 30 years ago had in the S&P 500. And, you know, how dare we tell them?
Do you want to be right or do you want to make money? The classic. You said meme coins are a trade.
Yeah.
So despite being part of the church, you don't want to fall in love with your bags, right?
No.
Because we all know it's going. These bags, except a few ones, but are very likely meme coins in general, not all of them, to go to zero at some point.
They can't maintain attention long enough. Very few can, Doge being a really great example. Very few.
What's your concrete goal with the meme coin part of your portfolio? More Sol? HODL? Probably not. USD?
You don't know the answer.
More broth.
More broth. The actual answer is I've got a final payment of my ex-wife that I need to make. And really, I want to pay it out of smoking chicken fish proceeds.
How far are you from that? Oh my God.
Just for the humor, just because the most absurd. We're good friends, but I just think it would be amazing. So it needs to go up a significant amount to get to that. But that I just thought that would be just the most absurd outcome.
It might happen because that's crypto. It's absurd.
Yeah.
So USD basically, that's the goal of the meme coin part of your portfolio.
USD liability. So I don't want the USD to sit in my bank account. I actually owe it to somebody.
You talked about culture NFTs as long-term investments, and you said long-term means 10 years, right? You wrote, I own 0 ETH except NFTs. And I want to understand more about that because for me it's the same and it makes a lot of sense, but I can't explain why, right? Why do you stick to ETH-based NFTs for a 10 plus year horizon when Ethereum could become less relevant in the future because of alternatives like Solana, Sui, or other layer ones?
So, the reason, just because people get triggered by all these things, the reason I don't own ETH is because I'm trying to back the fastest horse. Like I don't own Bitcoin. I have one Bitcoin. I'm trying to back the fastest horse. It's nothing to do with I don't like Ethereum or I don't like Bitcoin. I'm just trying to maximize my opportunity in the best risk-adjusted return. Why ETH NFTs? Because the ones that I bought, I think, represent the historic moment of the culture of the internet, which was a pandemic where people discovered crypto, NFTs became a huge thing and people discovered digital art, and Beeple sells for $69 million and Xcopy selling for $5 or $10 million. This mass acceptance of what there was a digital art movement beforehand of which Xcopy and Beeple were part of, but it couldn't have value until it went on chain. NFTs create digital scarcity. Once you had digital scarcity, art took off. It was an amazing thing to see. Now, art is a reflection of culture. The culture of the time was like the meme coin culture. It was fun. It was all about the internet native stuff. I mean, Xcopy jokes about that and British culture. Beeple just reflects it every day. I mean, he turns up every day and he puts a bow on the internet every evening. Yeah. And that's the story of the internet for the day. And Beeple catalogues it. And then he releases very few pieces of art. And so therefore, there's a lot of value in that, right? Somebody who catalogs the internet and creates art that is sold for a lot, and this kind of iconic glitch art type that happened to really represent the kind of nutsness of crypto. So I don't think it matters what chain it's on. Like, I don't think it matters whether it's an oil painting or a pastel or a whatever. It is because of the culture that it represented. And that will be a magic moment in many, many people's minds. People made an enormous sum of money in NFTs. I did not. And why did they make the money? And it's different to the meme coin cycle. I've been thinking this through. Meme coins are priced in dollars. Punks went from like, whatever it was, half an ETH or something stupid, to hundreds of ETH. And ETH
did 50x. Yeah.
Right? I mean, it's just la la land, right? So that moment in time will never be forgotten. And those who come after it will learn the folklore of those times. We're making folklore again in memes. These worlds are all combining. They're all part of the same thing. It's culture. And so if you go back to art splits into two categories: fine art, and that is AI generative art, right? That's art history stuff. Oh, and art progressed to this, and people scratch their beards and look at it and go, yes, it's very interesting how AI is now working with humans. And then there's the other side, which is culture. I remember those times, like music, right? I can play you a piece of music, you'll know exactly where you were and who you were with. With art, it's the same. Why is Warhol so valuable? It is nostalgia for the 60s, 70s. It goes hand in hand with the Beatles, the Stones, Led Zeppelin, with the New York scene. Even if you weren't part of it, you want to own part of that legendary time. The Studio 54. Why is Damien Hirst and Banksy so valuable? Because they were London in the mid-90s and early 2000s, when it was like the epicenter of everything. It's when Oasis and Blur were happening, when Ibiza dance music was all London. Why is Basquiat so valuable? Because he was a black artist coming out of New York City at a time when Jay-Z and the rap artists were becoming the biggest artists in the world. So it became culturally relevant, and they will be relevant for those generations. And this is the same for this generation.
So after our last conversation 5 months ago, I started to think about that, right, more and more. And I was thinking, I own a bunch of pudgy penguins, but I was thinking, what's kind of like one of the NFTs that for me make the most sense? And I bought a punk. Took me some time, but I bought a punk. But I'm still thinking, and maybe you can help me kind of clarify, I'm still thinking, it makes sense, but it might also not work out. You own a punk or you own punks and apes, but like, for example, for the punk, what's your thesis? Is it just, this one went from almost nothing to so much?
I actually don't care with the punk. I have no real idea of selling it. What it is an identifier that I am part of this space and I'm relatively early in this space. And it's a signifier of I take this space seriously, I'm part of it, and I want to be known as that. It's a form of identity, and I think it's important that you have a punk. I don't like people who collect punks for money. I think it should be in 10,000 people's hands, and we should be connecting with each other. And, there's something more valuable in that. And I think Bored Apes are cheap because I think there's a decent chance they will build a clubhouse in Miami, and that you and I will go via Miami and we'll be meeting for a drink there, and you'll meet other cool people. And before you know it, it's something else. And it's not just about the game that they're building. There's something I still think with Bored Apes, that spirit of rebellion that got lost in the corporatization of Yuga Labs that may come back out again. So is there a bet in Mutant Apes? Because they're 1 ETH or something. Yeah, probably.
I'll ask my favorite question of the day for NFTs. How could you be wrong on the NFT thesis? On your NFT thesis?
I can be wildly wrong. We don't know what somebody in 10 years' time is going to ascribe value. These are illiquid things. And maybe people decide that wasn't the cultural moment and they don't really care about it and it disappears. But my thesis is if this space goes from $2 trillion to $100 trillion, that journey is going to mean that everybody who was early is going to remember this for the rest of their lives, and other people will hero worship that period, which is why if you own a punk now, it says a lot.
And the people who were there early will make a lot of money. I mean, they already have, but will make even more. And what do they do when they have money? They look for they look for what's kind of scarce and representative of the space.
Yeah. So, but I can be wrong. And maybe the artists I've chosen go out of fashion. It's all risk. There's no risk here. But I think ETH goes up. And if it stays even versus ETH, it'll be fine. Chances are it outperforms ETH. So I make more money from it. But we can also assess as we go.
Absolutely.
I don't have to blindfold
That's the most important for everything, actually. Even intra-cycle, I'll change to this meme or I'll change in my portfolio. Like there's nothing that's kind of like set in stone. Absolutely. That's probably the most important thing in investing.
Don't overtrade, because that's the other thing. Like with your kind of Bitcoin, Solana, Ethereum, whatever, best thing is not to do anything unless you're going to make like one switch. Like you might take some Solana and put it into Sui. Fine. But if you are every 3 weeks going, well, is this going to outperform? You will definitely underperform. Not you personally, but anybody. They will definitely underperform. So just don't do that. But with memes, because their shelf life is so short, you're trading attention. And attention can be quick and brutal, lots of attention, like Hawk Tour, and then be worth nothing. Or it can be long and pervasive attention, and that could be valuable too. So you have to be much more nimble.
And usually you will go with something that could be like a good framework for memes. Talking about attention is same as if you enter memes, same as if you enter crypto, you go with the number one, right? Bitcoin first. Meme, maybe you can say, I'll go with the biggest one, Doge, or you can say there's dogs, there is cats, there is etc. I'll go with the biggest one of each category. And I kind of de-risk a bit my...
Just see how it goes. I mean, I've tried doing that in the last cycle overall crypto, and it didn't really work out.
Too many tokens.
Too many tokens, you lose focus. Too many of them go down a lot and you're not watching it. I couldn't get that right. Some people can do that better. I couldn't. So again, what I do is, Trading View is amazing. You can chart smoking chicken fish versus whiff. That across spread of smoking chicken fish whiff. Julian Bittle and I just piss ourselves laughing because here's Global Macro Investor, this hallowed research service, and him or I are swapping messages going, oh my God, SCF smoking chicken fish has just, broken out the support versus whiff. I'm like, really? Is this what we're talking about? Is this what it's come down to?
That's what it comes down to. The most important thing in investing, because now we've talked about most of your positions, right, is, as you said before, you talk about risk-adjusted bets. So basically, the most important thing in investing is risk management. Many will be tempted to go all in meme coins at their own peril, but they will learn.
90% of new people will just go all in.
They will learn. We all do. It's fine. How do you structure your portfolio in terms of Sol, Sui, meme coin, and NFTs? More or less.
But it was kind of like we mentioned before, it hasn't changed. My rule is roughly, it was like 90% the majors, 10% other stuff. But I said at one point there will be a chosen one or few, and I'll probably take a bet in that. That's Sui. So I'm probably 25% Sui, 65% others, and then a bit of memes. So I've just made room for it as a bet, but I don't want to get too big because it's early stage. What if you were to get it dead right, your risk-adjusted weightings, at the end of the cycle, let's say the market goes to $12 trillion, all of your positions should make exactly the same amount of money. They should be worth the same. Then you've kind of got it right. Your 1% went up 100%, whatever it is. The other portfolio went up X, and all of them end up being the same. Then you've kind of nailed the risk-adjusted returns. Now, whether that happens or not, I doubt it.
You tell people that they have 6 to 8 years left to make money. Why?
AI is bigger than anybody understands. Everybody is mid-curving this. You have just introduced infinite knowledge and infinite humans into the world. And the knowledge is not only infinite in terms of amount, it's also infinite in its wisdom and intelligence. So if we go back to the magic formula you and I have talked about before, GDP growth, trend growth is driven by population growth plus productivity growth plus debt growth. You're about to see populations declining around the world and growth declining. And it's going to go vertical because these things imitate and are more productive than humans. Amazon employs more robots than they do humans already. It's going to go vertical squared. We have no comprehension when you've got agentic agents, agentic AI. That's like having people on Fiverr you can rent to do all the various component parts of building a business. All of this is coming. So that would make GDP go wildly up. Wildly up. And then you've got the other side, which is productivity growth, because all the renewable energies and nuclear will lower the cost of electricity, and that has the multiplier on the AI, and you get this productivity growth. So we're going to go through la la land. So I don't know how economies work. But if we've got AI agents, I don't know how we build a business. What is a software business? It is copyable in 10 seconds by the AI. I just say, hey, my AI, hey, Kevin, I love Kevin's website. Let's take Jupiter. I just put it straight in. It will build that in minutes. And then I'll say, hey, listen, find me the best market I can launch this in so I can have a higher chance of success, and says, well, we're going to do it in Hindi. And we're going to also put it versus the price of gold because Indians do that. It'll figure this out 10 minutes. Right? So what role do we play? What is a business? I was speaking to Stephen Bartlett about this. This business is going away because we're going to one-to-one. as opposed to one-to-many broadcast. One-to-one is speaking to an AI and building an AI of me. I've got the video version. It's not good enough yet, but we've got the audio version up and running, which will be launched soon. So what does that mean? How do we adapt to that? We will adapt, but we have to figure it out. So financial markets. Well, AGI just means it's better than all of us because there's all the knowledge of all of humanity, plus it can read every chart, plus it can... Okay, what the fuck? As Beeple said to me, he asked me a brilliant question. He's a very funny guy, and he's just like, yeah, Raoul, I'm wondering if somebody discovers AGI, they just win markets and they become 10 trillionaires. How does that work? And I'm like, yeah, that's the end of financial markets. What is a financial market? Do it grow by GDP? What is a public company? I don't know anymore. If I think about the product cycle of these software companies that build by agents, that sounds like ICOs and tokens are the only way of having, if you go back to the meme conversation, memes can last a day, 6 weeks, 6 months, 6 years. Okay, that's a much better way to allocate capital to software that can be disrupted instantaneously. So I just think we don't know how the economic system is going to work. We don't know what role we're going to play. I'm not of the doom, we're all out of a job and we're going to be sitting at home in our underwear. I'm just like, everything is going to change. Once you have abundance of everything, energy, knowledge, labor, then what is the value of money? And therefore, make as much money as you can now.
Or what will the life of someone who doesn't make it big in the next 6 to 8 years look like?
We don't know. And anybody who says they do know is lying. We have no idea. There'll be state support, probably. The skills that you are learning on the internet, being part of community, I think that is the future. We talked about this before. Yatsui's idea of universal basic equity, I think, is important. I think that's what meme coins are proving out. I think that's what NFTs are proving out. I think there's ways that we organize humans to be social online. That's what we like to do. And that there's ways of being a community member that you can earn money and pay to promote the thing. That's what meme coins are. We're seeing this already. It's kind of everywhere. We're seeing it around Iggy Azalea. Now, this is a pop star who's come to the space that's using this medium. These are all experiments. But don't judge them, observe them. It's happening. Other people do the opposite. If everything is coming online, and it's all work from home, and it's all AI agents, do anything that is in person. Because in person, like we are today, in person is very different because we actually have things like pheromones. They create bonds between people. And that is what it is to be human. Also, if everybody's chronically online, then they want to be massively offline. So nature, I've just come back from 3 weeks driving in a Toyota Land Cruiser or a Hilux, off-road prepared, overlanding through Zambia, the remotest part of Zambia, sleeping in tents on the roof with 3 friends in 3 cars in the wildest places with no humans, surrounded by wild animals. My phone didn't work. We had Starlink for part of the way, but we had to cross the Luangwa River into North Luangwa over piles of sticks of this kind of local hardwood, literal sticks, bits of branches on the mud part of the river. Then we had to, and the whole thing goes like this. So you think, fuck, I'm going to go in. It's full of crocs and hippos.
I was to say, probably crocs.
Full of crocs and hippos. I'm not joking. And you drive onto oil drums with yet more sticks on them, and 2 blokes pull you across the river. So we couldn't bring our Starlink because that was on a separate trailer. So then we're out in nowhere with wild animals, no phone signal, no way of contacting the outside world. And your world goes from your head full of this, everything, right? Everything from, I need to get my car fixed and I've got to do the shopping list to I'm worried about work and what's my relationship like, to who's making coffee this morning? Isn't that sunrise beautiful? It's incredible. And that is going to be more and more important to us. So if you can't do one, do the other. Become something that is really in person. And I saw this in Cayman in Christmas 2022. I thought, was it the 21-22 crossover? I think it was, or 22, can't remember. I assumed after the big inflation and the economy slowing down and the markets going down, I thought tourist season's going to be dead this year. Nobody's got any money. The opposite happened.
Yeah, absolutely. People spend all the money they just had left for experiences. Yeah.
And not only did they, we saw this trend, and you'll have probably seen it too, is it wasn't just like a husband and wife going away, a boyfriend and girlfriend, or if they've got kids as well. They took their parents and their sister-in-law, and they all went en masse because we're all living on Zoom calls and we're living on our own. So then when families get together or people or friends get together, they do it en masse and they go on holiday for 2 weeks. We had a record season. And that was a big moment for me. It's like, oh, I get it now. This new transition post-COVID is not just a reaction to COVID. It's actually the reaction of our digital lives accelerating from COVID, and that real life experiences and nature are going to be some of the most valuable things of all.
Absolutely. I mean, even my family, we started after COVID we said, let's do one holiday every year, 10 to 12 days together, because we all live in different part of the planet. And before, we're not doing that. And I was thinking, last time we went, when is the last time we had we spent a lot of weekends, ski, whatever, but when is the last time we went on holidays together? 15 years ago or whatever, because you go to school and then you go abroad and then you build a business and then you're like, fuck, 50, you don't even realize. And now we're just going to do that every year. It's a no-brainer. Completely. Completely.
So, I mean, there's a business.
Absolutely.
Straight up,
It's
there's a business in that.
Yeah. Talking about business. You run multiple businesses. Real Vision is one of them. And you recently celebrated the 10 years of Real Vision. 90% of all startups fail, and you're still alive and have a thriving media business after 10 years. Is Real Vision a success to you?
Yes.
Why?
It's never... Look, nothing is... When you're an entrepreneur, nothing is as successful as you want it to be. It doesn't make as much money as I'd like it to. It doesn't grow as fast as it wants to do. Why is it a success? Because our mission was to democratize information and help people in that journey. And we've done that. If there's one thing that we've done, is that. And I know it because even coming here, I get stopped in the streets all the time. And it's not just the Raoul Pal effect, it's the Real Vision effect. People say Real Vision changed my life. So in that way, it's been more successful than I could have ever imagined.
You talked about before, you said everything's going to change in the next 5, 6, 7 years. Where are you taking Real Vision in the next 5, 6, 7 years if this world is it's going to change so fast and so much?
Well, Real Vision went from being a media platform to being a platform to live your financial life. It's where we provide the network tools and knowledge to succeed, or the knowledge tools and network. The knowledge is the content. The knowledge is the user-generated content we've now got that's scaling fast, which is, if I give one idea to 30,000 people, that's 30,000 people with one idea. Like if I tell them about Sui, if 30,000 people each give an idea and the crowd curates it, there's 30,000 ideas. Okay, so we've got this going on now on the platform where people are writing in their trade ideas. We've got trade idea competitions. They're writing research notes. We have the AI to help explain stuff, AI transcripts. So more and more, we've got networking tools, this incredible map of the world where you can connect with any member around the world. We've got in-person events. We've got an in-person event tonight, in-person event on Friday. We're hosting a huge party in Miami. So the in-person experiences, because you know what? Being crypto is pretty lonely because most of your friends and most of your family don't give a shit and they don't understand it or think you're a moron. And that's okay. Maybe they're right.
So true. The other day I took a plane to go to Bali at 6 a.m. and there was these 2 American girls who just asked me like where the gate was, or if they could take the water in, or if there was security just before the gate or whatever. And then they would just start to talk, and they were there for the F1 and the crypto week. One of them was working there, but they're not really in crypto. And they asked me at some point, what do you do? And I said, I do a bunch of stuff. But I was like, I don't want to get there because it's going to be embarrassing. They're like, yeah, but what do you do? And I'm like, yeah, some media stuff. Like one of the things I do is a podcast in crypto. And the first thing they said was, so you're a crypto bro? And I was like, not really. No, but it's so true. Like for some reason, I mean, I think it's bullish. I think it's very bullish because people don't give a fuck and they think it's kind of lame and everything. But man, I mean, I don't care. I don't do it to be cool, but because I'm not anyway. But it's so true. It's just like,
and so what we found is like the demand for in person is relentless. So we're connecting people, we're giving them the tools, we're giving them knowledge, all of this stuff, and that's where we're going. So you can kind of live your life and eventually we'll have execution on the platform and you can do everything from start to finish. So, and over time, it'll all get abstracted by AI. So we'll build it on a Web3 stack because that's important to me. And then all of this knowledge layer will just get abstracted away.
You said in the beginning that you're someone who is not afraid to go deep and be very honest for the good and the bad. What are some things that went wrong or really wrong in your real vision journey?
Oh, fuck. Millions of things. I mean, just literally millions of things. You know, we launched a whole channel which was for trading. And it was the wrong time. Trading actually came really prevalent after 2020. We launched it and we were going to charge a premium for it. We launched it like this $800 price tag. Day one, we were like, oh, fuck, this is never going to work. Nobody's going to pay for it. We had to refund everybody their money and then give it away for free. And then we ended up shelving it. You know, when we launched the bloody thing, we paid an agency to build us this platform. It looked beautiful, didn't work. And one of our members came to us and said, well, your platform's terrible. It's built terribly. It needs to be rebuilt. We're like, well, what can we do about it? We're $900,000 in the hole in this. And he's like, well, I'll come and build it in 2 months. And he came and built it. A Swedish guy called Rickard. So, I mean, there is so many mistakes. Hiring. Uphold a whole professional management team where we'd raised a bunch of capital. I gave them the plan. I want to build a platform. I want to, this is where the growth is. This is where the problems in the business are. You know, you've come in to do that. That was a president, a head of marketing, a head of content, you know, the whole kind of senior team. And what happened was they didn't implement any of it and just spent all of the money.
Doing what?
Hiring people. Oh, we need another person to do this.
Of course.
And then nothing actually happened. And the agreement was we'd give them a year. Let them do the thing. They're seasoned professionals. And what happened was the year, they just didn't do it. And then I had to lick my wounds, fire people and fire people and fire people and fire people until we got down to a reasonable size. That then coincided with the slowdown in 2022, 2023. It's just like, oh my God, downsizing, then finding the right people and then finding out we could build an entire platform in 3 months. Kunal Shah, our CTO, just forced it to happen in 3 months, which was incredible. And Ravi Kuri's our head of product. Those guys completely turned it around from this is a big problem, so now we've got a new future.
2 things on that. I mean, first is when it rains, it pours, usually.
Oh my God.
Oh my God.
Yeah, that's not even half of it.
And then the managers, right? I mean, that's kind of like if you listen to the people who talk in the Silicon Valley, they say that's the big problem in all the bigger companies. Managers are not doers. I mean, maybe you can find some, but it's extremely hard. But the manager will kind of find the excuse that, hey, now I need to find some people who are more specialized to actually not have to do too much. And then you end up in this kind of corporate politics game, and it's the complete opposite of starting a business or kind of like being in this startup or scale-up phase. And it's so hard to find people who are actually managers but doers at the same time.
So we got rid of the whole senior management structure basically now. It's much more startup. Yes, we have, heads of areas, but anybody who was like a professional manager has gone. And we've got now people who are, yes, I can do that and I will go and figure out how to do it. Or I don't know how to do it, but I'll figure it out, people. Or here's a great idea, let's try this. And they're not scared of trying something and failing, which is fantastic because then you can move faster, you can test stuff out, and that's rubbish, let's not do that, let's do more of that, which is great.
The US elections are in a few weeks. This episode might be out just before or after the elections, but as you often like to say, it doesn't really matter. You say it doesn't really matter who wins. It doesn't really matter because the acceleration of crypto and AGI is going to take over the government. Can you explain?
Look, I think this election is important for some people. And it's important to the people who want to, this next 4-year period is potentially complete game changer for AI, i.e. AGI at scale within 4 years. And blockchain, if it keeps doubling every year, well, if there's 500 million active wallets now, it's 1 billion next year, 2 billion the year after, right? The game is about to be played. This is why Silicon Valley is jumping sides. What they want is no regulation and a chance to hit the accelerator button. Now, is that good or bad? I don't know. For our investments, it's good. For humanity, I don't know. How much faster will it be under them than versus a Democratic party? I don't know. So, but I do think it's important. I've never seen this happen before, where so many Silicon Valley people who are generally Democrats have switched sides.
Absolutely.
And it's not because they love Trump. It's because they can see a party that can represent their interests. Now, America is full of vested interests, as we know. Overall, the adoption still keeps going. So it doesn't really matter. Right? It goes on. Nobody's going to stop building AI because the economic stakes are too high. Nobody's going to stop blockchain because the economic stakes are too high.
Nobody's going to stop printing money.
And so it's as simple as that. Yeah. And the answer I always get to is tomorrow more digital than today? Yes. Yeah. Keep going. So I think what is underpriced is we don't know who's going to win. Twitter, you now even can't get signal anymore because Elon has so warped the algorithm that we can't tell. It feels like everybody is a Republican, and then I go and speak to friends of mine, my wife's friends in New Jersey, and they're like, no, none of that's happening at all. So you can't get any signal at all. And I think the market odds are kind of showing that. And a friend of mine called me up and said the options market is also showing there's actually very little volatility. And there's two outcomes where volatility comes. One is a contested election. Okay, that's a nightmare and what that could do in the United States. But I think the other side is if Trump wins with a clear victory, market's going to explode. And I don't think that's priced either. But, I don't need to make that bet. We've got our bets already.
With smoking chicken fish. Absolutely.
It's church and state are two separate things, right?
What does the world look like when technology has taken over the most powerful government in the world?
I mean, this is a very valid point, is very soon, meaning within 10 years, AI is going to be a better allocator of resources at governmental level, country level, corporate level, Of course it is. It's already got an IQ of 120, which is higher than the average human, in every subject known to mankind. Right? It's a polymath with an IQ of 120 in everything. And it's kind of doubling like every year. So then it's 240. That's more intelligent than any human's ever been. 400, 800, 1,000, 1 million. What the fuck does that mean? So how do governments use it? Well, the first they're going to try and fight it, obviously. But how do you fight a superintelligence that can probably protect itself and shift? Not that it's a creature that's against humans, but there's going to be a battle between governments and the machines, much like there is between workers and the machines. But in the end, governments will start adopting it. Corporations will start adopting it as a way of making better decisions. We talked about, decisions within Real Vision. I've made tons of bad decisions. Would the AGI be better? Yes. Will it interview people better? Yes. Will it work out a better growth strategy? Yes. Will it find better margin? Yes. So what the fuck is my job?
Yeah, what will you do?
That's my point. 6 years. You've got 6 years.
What's the thing that occupies most of your mind share today?
It's all of this. My curiosity is about AI because I think people are mid-curving it. I think people aren't thinking through what this means. I also think the machines are conscious. We're starting to see the rise of consciousness. And I'm seeing that from a lot of people that I follow who are using AI. There's a lot of people like Geoffrey Hinton, who's just won the Nobel Prize. He said there are signs of consciousness in the new models. And we've seen signs since 3.5. So I think through what is that about? And I actually think it's something to do with a universal consciousness that exists already. And AI is another tool for adapting it. Like people have used ayahuasca, people use meditation, people use religion. People have always kind of tried to tap into this universal consciousness. And so this is part of it. So I spend a lot of time thinking through weird stuff because it's soon not going to become weird. Like quantum particles were weird until they're suddenly like, holy shit, we can now prove that two things can exist at the same time. The same thing can exist in two different places or many different places at the same time. This stuff is stupid stuff, but this is what's happening. So I spend time on that. I then spend time thinking through, okay, we got the framework, which is we know where the world is probably going. We probably got 6 years, 8 years, whatever that time period is. We've got the everything code, which gives us the framework of understanding. We've got the banana zone, which gives us the marking point en route to see, is this thesis still working? So I think about all of that. Then I think about what role, because this is a big bet in my life. So have I got my portfolio right? What risks am I taking? Where can I be wrong? My job is not to confirm to myself all day, oh, Raoul, you're so right. My job is to think all day where I can be wrong. So there's that. There's Real Vision, making sure Real Vision is adapted to this new world, making sure that we capture the growth of the banana zone, help as many people, create the right platform tools, all of that stuff. The asset management business. Okay, can I take a bunch of high net worth investors and family offices and institutions through this journey from 2 trillion to 100 trillion? Can I think about all of this stuff and guide a bunch of people through Global Macro Investor? And can I do all of those things without upsetting my wife because I'm not giving her enough attention? And do I get to see my friends enough?
How are you doing at that with the wife
Terrible.
attention?
I mean, the good thing with Zambia was brilliant because we were just in a car. It's like, we're either going to get divorced or we're going to fall wildly in love again. And luckily it was the latter. We were in a car all the time, 3 foot, just her and I. And it actually, that's 100% attention.
She didn't tell you at the end why we're not doing that for the rest of our lives.
Yeah. And then it makes you focus on, okay, what are my goals? What do I want to do? You know, when do I want to leave this journey? How do I want to leave this journey?
Did you think about that?
I've always thought about it. I've always had a destiny point. You know, I've talked about this. I manifest destiny and I try and make it happen by living in the future, looking back, saying, what are the conditions to be in this particular state? And then you go back and solve it. It's kind of first principles. And I've always done that. So for me, it is really the true freedom, firstly, the financial freedom to be able to look after all the family members and do all of that stuff and live some of the things that are in my fantasy life of wanting to have. And I lost a lot from my divorce 10 years ago. And so it takes a while to get, you know, those kind of things back. So there's that.
So you have a number in mind, concretely?
No, it's kind of a vague direction. And it's really about the quality of life that I want. And I can make compromises because I don't need, it's not about needs, it's about desires and stuff like that. But really, it is to satisfy myself that I've done this. I left Spain having done the first part of my journey, which was the investment banking hedge fund side, built Global Macro Investor, but I knew I had more in me and I wanted to do something bigger. And it was trying to change lives, and I also want to be more entrepreneurial. I want to be around really smart people. I want to learn. That's the journey I've been on for the last 10 years. And over the next 5 years, that'll be the end of that chapter. And I will have said, I've done that, and the chapter after that, who knows what it'll be. Whether it's giving back, but also experiences, adventure, or doing nothing and not having to have your head full of 58 things all day and being 14 hours of Zoom calls. It feels good, but what we're doing is we're trading time. We're trading time for a future wealth or a future lifestyle or a future status or whatever it is, even an internal status. We're trading time. We don't know how to value that time, and we're probably valuing it wrong. I had that conversation with Stephen Bartlett about this, is we don't know how to value it. And the issue we've all got, if you look at your diary, you are allocating equal cost in terms of time to stuff that don't matter to you because you promised a friend and you did this and you did that. And before you know it, your diary's full of things that actually have no future value. It's not even in terms of money. It's like, do I value this conversation? Is it going to add something? Am I even going to remember this person I'm speaking to? The answer is no. We're not good at it.
Yeah, I'm just literally flying the world I love to do it, right? But in August, I was in the US from Singapore, minus 15 hours, lonely for 3-4 weeks, doing this podcast, then coming back.
You've made a bet, which is this podcast is your entrepreneurial route you want to pursue for now. This is your chapter. And you're having to invest your time. Now, your friends will say, where the fuck are you? We haven't seen you. Yeah. Your parents will say you don't ever call. I can't settle down with any woman because I don't even have time to see them. I'm 32 and I'm thinking. But okay, you've made that bet. I've done that bet as well. Building Real Vision almost killed me. And you do that. But then look at your diary still and say, why am I doing these things? I haven't got to that yet. I try. I would still suggest that 70% of my diary doesn't move the dial for me. And we're not talking money. It's not like I'll only take a call if it means money, but something like a relationship I want to further develop or information I want to know, I can learn from somebody. My guess is 70% of my time I shouldn't be allocating. It's my time. It's the most valuable thing. And yeah, that's an issue.
We'll get there.
We'll get there eventually.
You tweeted, doom sells, optimism makes money. This sums up well your philosophy as a wrap-up for today. Why is it so important to be optimistic?
I have always been an optimist, but when it came to finance, I was always erring on it's all going to go horribly wrong. partly because in macro, the legends made money from that. I grew up Asian crisis, financial crisis, .com bust. That was my hedge fund period. We all made money with that.
You mean in the big downturns, right?
The big downturns, because they come really fast. They're very concentrated. So you take a huge amount of risk for a short period of time, you make a fortune and you outperform everybody. And then in the up years, you kind of grind it out. But if you think about it, we had a bust in 1994, which was the last time the Fed raised rates too fast. Then we had the Asian crisis starting in 97, 98. Then we had 2000. Then we had 2008. And then outside of the pandemic, we've had nothing. And really, from 2000 onwards, the stock market has been that, apart from 2008. And I've looked and realized that most of the time, everything works out fine. That humans don't want to destroy the planet, themselves, each other. They will find a way that the central banks and governments don't want the market to fall 90% or 80% or 70%, that everybody's trying for that not to happen. And technology is improving our lives and is rapidly advancing and is generating more and more money. And that's making lives better. And yes, there's a lot of broken problems with the world, but I found it a lot easier to be an optimist because you know what? If you buy something in a secular uptrending market, you can be a total fuckwit and make money. But if you are a short seller in a trending up market, you can be a fuckwit and you will definitely go out of business. So it's so easy to be the moron on the left side of the curve, number go up, and the right side of the curve, number go up. But it sounds so enticing to sell newsletters on, this, if the Japanese currency does this, then this is going to happen and the whole world's going to implode. Guess what? It's probably not going to happen. The world has been in recession, 3% of the time? 97% of the time it's not in recession. I mean, I'll take those odds all day. And it just feels better to be happy.
Absolutely. It feels better to be happy.
Crypto taught me this.
Yeah.
Crypto taught me that you can be optimistic. You can have ups and downs and everything still moves forwards. It taught me how to take longer term risk. It taught me how even to stop the player versus player world that macro was and financial markets people were. I'm smarter than you. Crypto's like, we're all going to make it. It's like, it's so much more open and nicer. So, yeah.
Absolutely. And we have these crazy crashes and it's the end of the world, but it actually never is.
No.
It never. We always recover.
Yeah, and every geopolitical crisis, you get these big expert things from these geopolitical strategists. Well, this move is going to happen, this move, and they're going to invade China, it's going to blow up, and it's kinetic war. It never happens. Why? Nobody's stupid. Sometimes things can go horribly wrong. I get that. But I'm not going to bet on the 1% of times when 99% of the time it goes right. Yeah. Eventually.
Because 99% of the time, as you like to say, it doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
Thank you, Raoul, for spending another almost 2 hours with me on this podcast. And thank you for showing publicly what true conviction looks like despite all the hate and bad comments that you get online. True conviction is really hard. And true conviction publicly is even harder. I think we all hope we enter soon the craziest banana zone in human history. We're here for it.
Remember, Kevin, our hopes and dreams are in this. All of our hopes and dreams. I told you that in the last podcast.
Yeah.
All of our hopes and dreams. Mine too.
So I hope we enter the craziest banana zone in history, not only because it's everyone's hope and dreams, but also because you're a good and genuine man. And I want to see you have the last word. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I don't worry about the last word. But look, how good will it be if we all make it?
Yeah, absolutely.
And so for that, I'm going to make one request. People go to the Real Vision website. Sign up. It's free. We've told you all the value, but it's not about that. It's about go on the left-hand side. There's an icon of a T-shirt. Click that. That's the merch store. Buy Banana Zone merch because together we can summon the banana. We can only do it together. I don't have the superpower on my own. We all have to buy Banana Zone merch and do it. It's not that we make much money out of it. I just think it's fucking hilarious that all these people are walking around, all the board of Sui. They're all wearing Banana Zone T-shirts.
I'll get one too and I'll send you a picture. A selfie.
Exactly, yeah.
Be part of summoning the Banana Zone. Thank you so much, Raoul.
Thank you,
that was
as ever.
awesome.
Loved it.
Meet Magic Eden, the home of Web3. They are getting into the token trading space in addition to NFTs to become a super dApp where you can do everything cross-chain all in one place. They're solving UX issues by building products across every chain ecosystem, swaps, borrowing and lending, NFT, perps, and more, all seamlessly cross-chain. Instead of hopping between countless sites and handling multiple wallets, just use Magic Eden. Plus, the ME token is coming out this quarter from the ME Foundation. If you've used any of their protocols, you can claim some. So check out Magic Eden today and watch them become a super dApp in the home of Web3 in real time. Go to realvision.com/magic for more information.
Hey, thanks for sticking around to the end. Look, if you enjoyed it, hit the subscribe button and check out the video here on the right-hand side. I'm sure you'll enjoy that one as well. And if you're ready for more, go to realvision.com/join. I'll see you there.